Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a brilliant, multi-layered retelling of a truly ancient parable, the appointment in Samarra variations. This text takes a very simple, very old story about a guy desperately trying to outrun death and completely shatters it into this complex, mind-bending meditation on choice, destiny, and perspective. So let's dive right in by asking a question that has literally haunted philosophers for centuries. Can you outrun your own fate? Or does running only take you right to it? When you feel like you're taking massive action to change your destiny, are you actually, just taking the exact steps required to fulfill it? It's a heavy thought, right? To get to the bottom of this, we're going to use a Rashomon-style perspective pivot to examine the exact same inciting incident through 6 distinct viewpoints. We'll look at the original parable, the servant's flight, death's perspective, the merchant's transaction, the silent witness, and finally, the geometry of fate. All right, Section 1, the original parable. Let's lay out the core facts of this classic tale before we really start bending your perspective. Here's the basic, elegant plot. On the morning of day 1, a servant goes to the crowded Baghdad marketplace and spots Death in the crowd. Death makes what the servant assumes is a threatening gesture. So, completely terrified, he borrows his master's horse and flees the city. He rides incredibly hard for 2 full days to reach Samarra, convinced he'll be safe there. But meanwhile, back in Baghdad, the master goes to the market, finds Death, and asks, "Hey, why did you threaten my servant?" And Death replies that it absolutely wasn't a threat. She was just startled to see him in Baghdad because she actually had an appointment with him the very next night, all the way over in Samarra. Moving into Section 2, the servant's flight. We're shifting to our first deep POV here with Yusuf the servant. In our source text, Yusuf is just an ordinary guy. He's at the market, casually thinking about spending a few saved coins on some honey cakes, when he locks eyes with a tall, veiled woman. He feels this deep sense of recognition, and it is instantly terrifying. He flees in absolute panic. Now, in that moment, he feels like he has agency, right? Like he's making a conscious, active choice to save his own life. But as he rides and eventually meets his end, he comes to this chilling realization. I had no more choice than water has when it flows downhill. His panic wasn't freedom at all. It was literally just a compass needle, swinging him directly north to his doom. And this is where the dramatic irony of the story is just off the charts. The entire tragedy hinges on a single misinterpreted physical movement. From Yusuf's reality, he sees a threatening gesture. He interprets Death's raised hand as a deadly mark, a guarantee that he's about to die right there. But the actual truth? It was merely a start of surprise. Death was genuinely shocked to see him 50 miles away from where he was scheduled to die. Talk about the ultimate miscommunication. Section 3, Death's perspective. Let's totally flip the narrative and look at the cosmic view from the keeper of appointments herself. From this angle, everything we thought we knew changes. Death says, "I do not hunt. I am a keeper of appointments." She completely recontextualizes that perceived threat. She's not some malicious predator chasing people down the street. Actually, she reveals that she wears whatever face or outfit a culture expects, purely to make the transition gentler for them. She is just a reluctant guide, totally bound by the mechanics of fate. Which brings us to a crucial concept, the structural appointment. What this means is that Yusuf's death isn't just some random accident or stroke of bad luck. It's a structural necessity. Death explains that the story itself actually requires Yusuf to choose freely. He has to decide on his own to jump on that horse in terror so that the overarching pattern can fulfill itself. If he doesn't act freely, the whole thing is just a cold, meaningless machine. It's his authentic free choice that actually powers his inescapable fate. All right, Section 4, the merchant's transaction. Let's look at the master, Abdul-Rahman. Abdul-Rahman is a savvy businessman. He understands transactions. When his terrified servant begs for a horse, the merchant doesn't hesitate. He just gives him his fast gray mare. Later, when he talks to Death in the market and realizes he literally just funded his own servant's fatal journey, he's hit with a profound realization. The action was right, the choice was real, the outcome was inevitable. He realizes he's an active participant in this structural tragedy, sure, but he still firmly believes his choice to help a terrified man was authentically the right thing to do. The goodness of his choice isn't magically erased just because the outcome was predetermined. 47. To put that into perspective, that is the number of years Abdul-Rahman lived after this event. He lived almost half a century quietly carrying the incredibly heavy knowledge of his specific role in this grand pattern. It completely changed how he did business. He started paying close attention to the human transactions, the relationships, and those invisible threads that connect all of us, all while patiently waiting for his own appointment to arrive. Let's move to Section 5, the silent witness. We're going to step entirely away from human anxiety for a minute. We're looking through the eyes of Zara, the mare. She really grounds us in bodily truth. While the humans are trapped in their heads, constantly agonizing over fate and free will, the horse just operates on pure physical reality. The body knows what the mind denies. She could literally smell death approaching long before they ever arrived in Samarra. But more importantly, Zara shows us that even within a rigid, predetermined pattern, her experience was totally real. When she stood quietly next to a terrified Yusuf under the date palms, providing warmth and a steady heartbeat, that comfort was meaningful. She wasn't just a prop used to move the plot forward. She was a living participant, and her journey mattered just as much as the destination. Finally, Section 6, the geometry of fate. Let's zoom all the way out to the physical environment itself. The ancient Baghdad marketplace speaks directly to this overarching theme of transactions. It isn't a person. It's this invisible geometry of exchange. It says, what you have, I need, let us meet in the middle. The marketplace just watches this fatal interaction unfold flawlessly in its chaotic center. It sees the vendors, the buyers, the terrified servant, and death, all perfectly executing this intricate dance of supply, demand, and destiny. And honestly, it's this environment that beautifully resolves our central paradox. From the marketplace's ancient perspective, free will and determinism are not opposing forces at all. Think of free will as the view from inside the pattern, like Yusuf frantically bargaining for his life, or Abdul Rahman making a genuine choice to be kind. Fate, on the other hand, is simply the view from outside the pattern. It's seeing all those individual, authentic choices inevitably locking together to form one perfect, unchangeable picture. So what is the ultimate takeaway from this explainer? It's that the story is quite literally telling itself. Free choices are exactly what create the determined pattern. The narrative fulfills itself through the authentic, panic-driven, compassionate, and ordinary choices of its characters. Yusuf's desperate escape was always, from the very beginning, his arrival. I'm going to leave you with this massive, provocative thought to ponder. What if free will is simply what fate feels like from the inside? As you navigate your own perfectly plotted, freely chosen journey today, remember that your choices absolutely matter. Your kindness matters. The journey itself has profound meaning, even if the destination is already written. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it changes how you look at the patterns unfolding in your own life.